Could ghosts be the aura of a previously living person? Does your aura survive your physical death? Are auras even real? Welcome to Truly Terrified, Paranormal versus Physics, where we talk about some really weird stuff, and Joe the scientist explains how it's not possible, or maybe it is. I'm Lynn, and
I'm Joe.
If you look at something, anything, long enough, you'll start to see an aura of light around the thing. That's what's commonly known as an aura. In Latin and ancient Greek, aura means wind, breeze, or breath. It was used in the Middle English to mean gentle breeze. And by the end of the 19th century, the word aura was used in some spiritualist circles to describe a subtle emanation of energy around the body. There's that word you absolutely hate.
Aura also is usually used to describe the effects just before a migraine, or it's called aura migraine aura usually.
Yeah, but this kind of aura is not necessarily in the same realm at all, and I use the word realm specifically.
Yeah.
According to many spiritual beliefs, an aura or energy field is a colored glow that encloses a human body, or really any animal or object. Physics? No, not physics. Psychics and holistic medicine practitioners often claim to have the ability to see the size, color, and type of vibration of an aura.
It's like, go on.
In spiritual alternative medicine, the human being aura is seen as part of a hidden anatomy that reflects the state of being and health of a client, maybe to even comprise the vital force called chakras.
See, I much prefer that. Like, if you're talking about woo stuff like, auras and whatever, I much prefer the implication that it's like extra physical organs and, like chakras, which are pretty out there, really heavily tied to religious stuff. Probably not real, but they're like centers of some sort of activity in an extra physical body, of a body that's beyond just what you can see and, what we're familiar with. If you did have this kind of ethereal body that was attached somehow to your physical body, I would expect it to just be like kind of blobbing around, you know what I mean? Like you're standing there and it's larger than your real body. It's like a jellyfish that's attached to you.
Okay. I just want to give a disclaimer here right now, because Joe has just kind of implied, I didn't imply it, he said it right out, that it's probably not real. These claims are not supported by scientific evidence and are considered pseudoscience. When tested under scientific controlled experiments, the ability to see auras has not been proven to exist. But you all know how I feel about controlled scientific experiments. I don't put a lot of stock in them, since I believe the act of observation changes the outcome. I'm still not sold on auras, however. Even after all the research I did and all the reading I did, the most of the information came from people who were making money off of seeing auras,
as I've said,
or photographing
even
auras.
If some exotic phenomena like this is real, there are still going to be people faking it. Still, no matter what, no matter how real it is, even if it's so real, we're very familiar with it. Like bridges. Somebody could sell somebody a bridge. That's happened before.
It has.
But here's the thing, like you say, you're not sold on it. Stare at an object and you will start seeing an aura around it.
Yes.
It's a problem for me. If I'm like watching someone talk, not like in a video, but in like a real environment, it can be like way overstimulating. There's suddenly like this really strong...
Okay, let me...
I'm perceiving like a weird color bands and stuff around them.
Let me clarify. It's not that I don't believe in there being some kind of possible energy field around people, but I don't believe in the 7 layers of it, and each color means something different.
So you believe you can see it, right? You believe you can see something.
Yes,
How about this? If you believe in the like scrying and seeing real information and random stuff, then there could be that same sort of information when you're looking at.
Yes, and that I think is more, that would be more in keeping with the way I feel about it. I think there's enough people that see this that there's a reason for it, and it could just be a visual phenomena.
It definitely is at least like a visual phenomena. Like it could be wholly explained potentially by how your eyes and your optic nerve and your visual cortex process light information.
Right.
But the question is, there's something beyond that.
Yes. And also is the fact that your eyes can perceive this in a physical, physically explained way, which is possible. That to me does not negate the possible supernatural aspect of it. And I'm saying supernatural only in that it's outside of our understanding of nature at this time. So there could be something to it. I am not saying I don't believe in it, but I don't know that I buy all the hype around it, because there's so many people that are taking advantage of that to make money off of other people. So that I have a problem with. So the interpretation of what an aura actually is varies among practices, practitioners, and philosophies. I'm going to share some different ideas, and some may seem contradictory, but that's because there isn't consensus or one solid agreement. So that's another issue with it, is that nobody really agrees with what's going on. So that again, it's kind of like, well, it's a head scratcher. I don't know. Christina Lonsdale, this is just one of the people who makes her living off of taking advantage of this. She lives in Portland.
Oh, well, I mean, is she a con artist? Because that kind of makes it seem like, that kind of wording.
I don't know if she's a con artist or not, but she makes her living off of it. She lives in Portland, Oregon, and runs a photography business. Well, I could take advantage of people who can read by writing books. I can take advantage of people who like flowers by growing a garden. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
She's capitalizing.
There you go. Capitalizing on this. So Christina Lonsdale lives in Portland, Oregon, and she runs a photography business. In her business, she takes pictures of people and shows them their aura.
So there's photographs, evidence.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This has been going around for a long time. As long as there's been probably photographers, people have been taking pictures of other people and claiming that this is their aura.
Have you ever seen those HDR, high dynamic range images? So there's real high dynamic range images. Then you can fake it with they call it tone mapping, and usually ends up with these artifacts, with this glowing kind of outline around things. It's just an artifact of the process of tone mapping or whatever. That looks like an aura.
Okay, I believe my still camera, not my video camera, my still camera, I believe that is HDR. I might be wrong on that.
Real HDR?
I believe it is. You should look at it, see if you can do that, and then we should take some aura pictures.
Yeah,
because
we should take
that would be fun.
We should fake some aura pictures and make people think they're real.
Well,
and then capitalize on it.
Okay, because we're capitalists. So Christina Lonsdale says, quote, "As human beings, we radiate a very low level of electricity that's otherwise known as electromagnetic field."
That's true.
And she believes that's what she's taking a photograph of. That is absolutely true.
You could conceivably make some process that would, from a distance, record that. I'm not even sure what it would look like, because it's such a subtle thing. Auras are so subtle, supposedly. But you could, if you had a laser and you shot it just really close to their body, you'd also probably pick up bending of light because of their body heat. So there is definitively something around your body.
Yes, something is around your body. Ancient systems of medicine believe that this energy is expressed in 7 layers, like your chakras.
7 chakras.
Yes, each layer correlates to a different element of your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health. These layers can interact with one another to influence your overall health. Now that's where we get kind of into woo stuff. Which
Wait. The 7 layers are woo, right?
I believe they're woo.
Okay.
I believe they're even
Aren't you
wooier
supposed
than
to believe
me.
the believer?
I am the believer, but I'm not an idiot. And I think
Well, I think the people who believe it don't think they're idiots.
no, I'm not saying they're idiots, but I'm saying that I'm trying to look at this more objectively, even within my own belief system. So just because an ancient system of medicine believed this, they also believed that leeches were a good source of healing and bleeding, bloodletting and all of that. So that is irrelevant to me. That it's because it's ancient. Ancient doesn't mean right,
better or more spiritual or whatever.
So we agree. All things have. I'm going to use the word energy, but we could say electricity, right?
It would both equally wrong.
Jeez. Okay.
Well, I suppose that everything does have energy, and almost everything in a sense has electricity, but you can't. I know, like the whole energy and vibration thing. They're just the words being used as a stand-in for something that evokes a concept, but it's not like and there's nothing definitive about the concept.
Okay.
It's like saying the ether. No one has touched the ether. No one knows what the ether is. Even if it existed, even if that physical model was true, no one knows what it is. We know what energy is. We know what vibrations are. And everything, in a sense, is vibrating, but it's not meaningful to say, like, the vibrations of...
What is it that all things have, all living things? What is it that they have?
So one thing is complexity.
Oh, God, no, I'm trying to get to the innate power that...
Their soul? Like what?
No, we're alive. What makes us alive?
Oh, you're talking literally.
Yes, if it's not energy and it's not electricity...
Well, definitions of what is alive are very sparse, but it would have to be something that's like epiphenomenal. It's something that is, you can't just say like one thing, you have to look at the whole picture. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, if you have a creature and it looks completely different, how it functions completely different than anything we know. But it eats, it goes and talks to other creatures, it has no electricity. Maybe it's entirely vibrational. Maybe it's all dark matter. Maybe, you know what I mean? But you can look at it and see, because it's eating, because it's talking with the other ones,
actually,
it's living.
Talking isn't one of the criteria. I think it's eating and growing.
So you could say things that spread their form, reproduce, continue to spread. You could say that's living, but very hard to say what's living.
Okay, well, maybe all things don't have energy in your vernacular, but
you could just say life stuff or something, and it would be equally
all
as valid.
Things have life stuff.
That's actually much more appealing to me.
But it's unclear whether that life stuff can truly be thought of as a manifestation of the spiritual and or physical body.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. That life stuff is what ends up as a ghost, or that life stuff is what ends up, haunting you in your house because you have a grave in your yard, whatever that is. In other words, not everyone believes that auras are a reflection of your state of being. That's all I was getting to. The 7 chakra thing, not everyone believes that.
That means they don't believe it's something more than just like your eyes picking up information and whatever.
So another way to think of an aura is the life stuff that someone around you emits. So you're looking at someone and they're emitting their life stuff. They're that is so gross.
Vital energy. There you go.
Vital energy, but you were using the energy word.
Well, but it's modified. So
okay.
I mean, it would be like, I can't just say like they're gravitational waves.
Okay.
Because that would be very, very wrong. It's not totally wrong, but it's wrong in the context.
All right. So some people say this is the way you are sending out vibes or awareness to other people. If a person makes you nervous, that's because of their vital energy. If they make you relax, that's, if you're relaxed around them, that's because you're picking up on that vital energy. So it's your reaction to the vital energy they radiate. There's this guy, now this is where it gets goofy, because when you look on the internet for actual research, because what I was looking for is, could that vital energy that is creating the visual thing, the visual phenomena of an aura, could whatever that is be what we're seeing when we think we're seeing ghosts? We're seeing the leftovers of that vital energy. So this guy,
it's the same. So like in situations where you see a ghost, you're seeing the same phenomena as when you're seeing an aura.
No, I'm saying when you see a ghost, you are seeing a dead person's aura.
Yeah. So you're seeing an aura when you see both an aura on a live person and
a ghost.
Yeah.
You're seeing the same. And that would explain why sometimes you can kind of get a sense of what their physical form is, or, whatever those things are. But when I did the research, there's this one guy kept coming up over and over and over. His name is Robert A. Sizov. Sizov, I think I pronounced that right. It's Sizov. And I will put a link to one of his research papers in the show notes. But when I wrote down my notes on him, I have lots of quotes around words because I don't know how to really express this. He does, air quotes, research on scientific subjects. He writes extensively for the European Journal of Applied Physics, but I can't really find anything that shows what the European Journal of Applied Physics is.
That's interesting.
So it's not like it's...
Journals they're kind of like a magazine. I mean, they're like something...
It is set up very much like, the obstetrical journals I've looked at online.
Yeah, so they should have a public presence. Here's what's been submitted. Here's our catalog.
Right.
That's the whole point.
So, I'll look again, but I couldn't really find anything definitive that showed, what they should have a governing board. They should have people who vet what gets to go up on their website. There should be something there. And I didn't really see that, but
maybe it's fake.
It could be. And he has a lot of articles on there.
Published it with air quotes to his,
Yeah. He says that there's evidence that the aura survives after physical death.
And the evidence is?
Okay, I'm going to read from his abstract.
Okay, go ahead.
The discovery and study of... Okay, now, wait a minute. Let me stop a second. To me, a lot of this is gibberish. And I don't know whether it's gibberish because I don't understand this scientific stuff or because it actually is gibberish. So let me just...
what do they call that where you just use random technical words?
Yeah, so... Well, it's not even necessarily technical. It's just the way it's put around it. I just don't understand.
Okay, go ahead.
The discovery and study of real magnetic charges, as well as true anti-electrons in the structures of substance and their inclusion in basic physical concepts, allowed the author to establish that two physical images correspond to a person, a real human body, i.e. his mass composition, atoms, nucleons, etc., and the spinor image in the form of its biofield displayed in the inergo medium, inergo ether, is the physical aura.
That is gibberish. I'm not reading it, but that's from what I'm hearing. That sounds like it's like people who don't know the specific meanings of what they're talking about, but have a general kind of idea or conception of it. They'll use it based on the conception, but not the its actual, real, very specific meaning.
But that's what I suspected. He goes on to say that the aura of a person isn't a simple photograph, but represents a system of real physical states or fractals of the energo, I don't know, energo. Is that a real word?
Okay, or show me the I'm imagining he's making energy into a prefix there. What was the word that?
Medium.
Yeah, so the dash, it's the energy medium.
Okay.
Is what he's saying, I think.
Okay, he says that's at a cellular level they are connected with the human body and interact with it at all stages of its existence. It's the physical aura that's responsible for all the power reactions manifested by the body, providing, for example, force, okay, again, air quotes, force service. What does that mean? Of the activity of the central and autonomic nervous system. Okay, so this, oh God, because of stuff like this, I think that it is very common for the scientific-minded community to just discount all subjects that don't have scientific exploration and proof of. I think they just absolutely discount it because here's this guy who says let me see what he said he was. He said, I couldn't find any real credentials about him, but his bio page on the physics site says, quote, Robert A. Sizov is a doctor of physical and mathematical sciences, specialist in the oblast of general physics with real magnetic charges.
I don't know what they mean by real magnetic charges, but
currently
oblast, I believe that's a word meaning like district or something in Eastern Europe.
No idea.
And well, I hope he's not a professor or something, because that was gibberish.
Currently he works as an individual researcher. Extended information about his research on the topic, just search me at Google, Robert Sizov Physics. So it's all in the third person, and then he goes to the first person, which means he doesn't really understand how to present himself.
So someone who is lacking experience doing this sort of thing.
Yes, experience in the professional scientific community. Yes.
Yeah.
And there were no comments, no, what do they do when somebody writes a paper?
You're talking about peer review?
Yeah, there was no peer review that I saw.
I couldn't imagine someone, because it's like, here's the thing. Even if what he's saying is like he has evidence and proof for it, most people, it's a social convention to write in a way that doesn't sound like woo, Yeah. So it's more than, it's like it's not courtesy is not what I'm looking for. It's expected that you don't sound like woo, even if it's good science, it's whatever. You can't make up words and say whatever unless you're really careful and be clear, because what usually happens is when people hear certain words, hear certain patterns of speech or whatever, they start shutting down. The credibility for that person starts shutting down. And
I think that is why I just was scratching my head. So the whole thing about fractals, I'm not really sure what he was talking about.
I have no clue.
He says that his article shows the conditions for the transformation of the aura into a dead state after the death of a person. And he went on, I'm just going to pick a few phrases out of here. He said that the external manifestations of such long-lived fractals of the aura meet the conditions of identity with the deceased person and can be perceived by some people who are sensitive to this. And at the same time, the ability to form the marked fractals is not an exclusive property of the aura.
Is this like he set up an experiment and got data, or is this he's reviewing other
It looks like he
writings?
did do an experiment, but I couldn't really pin down. It's not like I couldn't really pin down what the parameters of that experiment were, because when I'm used to looking at medical stuff, and when you look at medical stuff, it's very clear. They tell how many people were involved.
Well, theoretically, good science is like, here's everything about how we set up what we did. Here's exactly what we did. here is the results
Well,
of what we
I
did.
have to
No, like, this is what we think it happened.
Right.
Whatever.
I have to admit that because it sounded like gibberish to me, I couldn't read the entire paper because it was gibberish. It was like a child
No, that is
blathering. So I kind of just skimmed it, and I didn't see like a table that showed. Generally, there would be a table. This is how many people. This is our control group. This is how many people. Okay. So, but as dubious as he seems, he brought up something I thought was interesting. If vital energy never goes away, it just changes place and form, then why wouldn't a vital energy field survive the death of the physical body? Could this explain ghosts and other apparitions? And I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. But again, he was the only person, air quotes, researching it.
I don't know. I think it has that line. It has a lot of problems. That line of thinking from the get-go. So, for instance, let's say you set up an experiment to prove if there's anything that survives after, death, which, as far as I know, is very up in the air. The results of any such experiments like that. And then you set up an experiment. Is the aura something that exists? And as far as I know, there's not really any good evidence for that. So it's like saying, what's the likelihood that the red cow jumping over the moon is wearing a hat? Well, you're going to have to catch the cow jumping over the moon, that it's red, and that it's wearing a hat.
Right.
So you're going to have to capture aura and something after, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
Really hard. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think we can have a definitive answer. I know if I was going to do an experiment on it, I think what I would have to do is photograph, like have continual still photographs using one of those cameras that can supposedly sense such things, on a person who is dying so that it takes pictures of the person as they're dying and after they're dead for a period of time to see if anything changes. Yeah. And that's the only thing I can think of.
You'd also have to rule out possible other causes, like you set up a fake dead body, heat it up, do the same apparatus to watch as it cools down, as its electrostatic field changes, as it's whatever.
I wonder if animals have auras.
Yeah, so that's the other thing.
So then you could just use an animal.
Maybe ants. It'd be really fast if you could do fruit flies, because they breed really quickly.
Yeah. I know I've seen auras and you've seen auras. Whatever we want to define that as, we've seen that phenomena of looking at something and seeing an aura of light or colored bands around it. But I've never really thought about whether or not they continue after a person dies. And I suppose if you believe in vital energy like I do, it would make sense. To me, anyway, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Our contact information is in the show notes. You can email us, text us, or even call and leave a 3-minute voicemail. And as always, if you have a story you want to tell, send it to us. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and never be so terrified you can't run.